World Day of Remembrance it's a really hard event. As someone who's lost a son in traffic violence, is a difficult event, but the connection to the community is really healing in a lot of ways. Feeling connected to people not only in Portland but across the country and across the world is really powerful, and I think it really does drive increased awareness and hopefully political change.
Can you share with me your role in the event that happened on Sunday, like what it is and how you came to be an organizer of it and that sort of thing?
I am the board chair for the Portland chapter of Families for Safe Streets. We partnered with Portland Bureau of Transportation, the Street Trust, Bike Loud, Portland Parks and Recreation, 1,000 Friends of Oregon, and Oregon Walks. And we all met every couple weeks for the last few months to plan our event, which is intended to honor everyone who has been injured in a traffic crash and to support survivors and grieving families. So anyone who's lost a loved one in a crash. It's a memorial event, but there's an advocacy component. And our local chapter kind of takes our cues from the national chapter, which decided the theme for this year was going to be Safe Speeds, Save Lives. And so we kind of took that and ran with it, decided to use the event to introduce some legislation that we are going to be working on in the next few years.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that specifically, but take me to the event real quick just to sort of set the table. If I showed up there at Lewitt View Park in East Portland, what were some of the things that were there underneath the shelter as people gathered? What was happening? What could people do to sort of take part?
Everyone who was there as a member of Families for Safe Streets had a sign with a photo of their loved one and their age. And so those signs were sort of set around the little pavilion there. Some of the family members held the signs, and there were flowers. There was a small altar where anyone could light a candle to honor somebody who's been impacted by traffic violence. It was very cold and it was raining, but I think that makes it even more meaningful to those of us who have lost family members. Just knowing that people brave the weather on a Sunday morning to spend time with us and support our work is just really, really meaningful to us.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people hear about this and they instantly think, well, it's going to be a very somber, very sad. But when you're talking about the event and promoting the event, you mentioned that it's also hopeful. Why would this actually be a hopeful event in some ways?
I think that all of us who do this work are really motivated by not wanting other people to experience what we've experienced. And the knowledge that there are solutions that just aren't being used because of lack of political will, lack of money. It's frustrating for us. So like raising awareness, letting people know that there is a path forward to prevent traffic violence, engaging our political leaders, building support on the ground so that we can actually create momentum for potential solutions is really exciting. The other thing I should mention, we try to center our own members. So a lot of our Families for Safe Streets members will share their stories. It's incredibly powerful. It's really sad. There was one woman who had just lost her fiance 9 days ago and managed to show up for the event and is looking to get involved with Families for Safe Streets. The idea that somebody can show up for an event like that after going through something so tragic, I think it's sad, but it also demonstrates incredible hope.
It demonstrates a lot too to the elected officials that show up, and of which I saw there were several at this event. I think more so than usual. Is there anything about what an elected said that stood out to you?
I was really moved by Dacia Graber, state representative. She's a paramedic for her day job, and the folks who are first responders are the first people who arrive on the scene of a crash. And so I think that she understands on a very deep level what the impact of traffic violence is for victims and families. And so I just felt like she gave a really powerful speech from her heart. City Councilor Jamie Dunphy was there too, and he's been pretty vocal in recent weeks talking about traffic violence because he's had 3 constituents who were killed in crashes in a matter of a few days. And the event was held in his district in East Portland, where we know that traffic violence is a more serious problem. So it was really meaningful to have him there, both as a resident and as a city councilor. We heard from State Representative Mark Gamba. We heard from Thuy Tran, who's also a state representative. Both of them spoke really movingly in support of what we're doing. And obviously, Tiffany Koyama Lane, city councilor from District 3, who's been a big champion of Vision Zero on the council, also gave a really wonderful speech. So
Remembering people that have been killed in traffic and holding space and bringing these people together is really important, but you also want to actually do something about it, which is, such an important part of Families for Safe Streets and the work of all the partners. So what is this I hear about new legislation that you're going to be working on, or you've already started to work on, regarding speeding?
the legislation is called Stop Super Speeders, and it is a bill that would require repeat offenders or people who have very serious reckless driving or speeding convictions to install technology in their vehicle known as Intelligent Speed Assist. So, Intelligent Speed Assist, ISA, it uses GPS, digital maps, and road sign recognition cameras to prevent a vehicle from going over the posted speed limit. It's kind of similar to the technology that prevents impaired drivers from driving.
Is it modeled after the effort in New York? Isn't there a New York State Assembly person working on this? Or
There
is
is, they haven't passed a bill in New York yet, but there's a lot of momentum there. The states that have passed laws are Virginia and Washington, D.C. has also passed a law. And they're broadly similar. I think there's some details that are different. And so some of that will need to work out in Oregon, such as what's the threshold, like for mandating someone install ISA. But the great thing about this legislation and why I think it will earn support from a broad spectrum of leaders is it really it replaces the need to suspend driver's license, which is not a effective strategy for reducing crashes. We know that people who are convicted of these offenses, who have their driver's licenses suspended, usually keep driving. And so this technology allows people to continue to drive so they can go to work, so they can keep participating in society. They just can't speed.
wow, okay, so I didn't realize it was actually in place in some states already.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really hopeful. Interesting to hear that
Yeah.
you're working on that. Is this something that you're going to put out 2026, 2027? What's the timeline or the next steps on the super speeder legislation?
Right now, we're planning for the 2027 session. So we'll spend the next year or so kind of gathering sponsors and hammering out the details of the legislation.
But your group's been like busy in other ways too. I'm sensing a lot of momentum from Families for Safe Streets. Tell folks about the new website and what they can find on the website.
So our new website is pdxfamiliesforsafestreets.org. My colleague, my friend Sarah Risser, has really led the charge on getting this website set up, and she found a nonprofit who was willing to donate their time to help us establish a website, and we just launched it. It's a really beautiful website. I think it has a section with memorials for victims, so anyone who's lost a family member or a loved one or who has been injured in a crash is welcome to send us a photo and share a little bit about what happened to them. And we have this online memorial space, which is really nice. There's also information about our advocacy, both at the state and the city level. We're hoping that can be a place where people can go for information on the legislation that we're hoping to pass. You can sign up for our emails, you can donate. So all of that it's really like just in the last month that we've had that kind of capability. So it's really exciting. But we are fully volunteer organization. We don't have any staff, we don't have a budget. And so we're hoping to get, a small trickle of donations coming in just so that we can pay for things like storage and Zoom membership and our email listserv, things like that.
Is there anything else you want to add about the work you're doing or anything at all?
The only thing I would say is that World Day of Remembrance it's a really hard event. As someone who's lost a son in traffic violence, is a difficult event, but the connection to the community is really healing in a lot of ways. Feeling connected to people not only in Portland but across the country and across the world is, I think, is really powerful. And I think it really does drive increased awareness and hopefully political change.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing it with us, Michelle, and thanks for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.